밖에 누가 온 것 같은데요.
시끄러워. 누구야? 누가? 시끄러워 죽이시니까.
이제
죽었어.
부모란 거야?
500 years ago, a disciple asked Wang Yongming how to find and eliminate evil thoughts in the heart. Wang Yongming smiled slightly and said, "Everyone has evil thoughts in their heart. How to defeat them is each person's own journey." 5 notorious robbers kidnapped the son of wealthy businessman Hengza and artist Shanzi. They demanded a large ransom and arranged to meet on a train for the exchange. 2 of the robbers boarded the train. The leader, Hwayi, hid Hwayi in a large flower pot and carried it along the train tracks. An informant at the police station, Changhao, called to reveal that Hwayi's parents had secretly reported the kidnapping to the police. The police were also on the train, waiting to act during the exchange. Hwayi felt a bit disappointed after hearing that.
그러는 것들이 자식 교환 줄을 몰라.
Fan Xiu pulled out a knife and dragged a man with a hat off the train. A policeman followed them in the chaos. He pointed his gun at Fan Xiu and gestured towards the hostage in Fan Xiu's hand. The man who was originally kidnapped, Dong Fan, turns out to be another accomplice. The 2 of them join the main group and return home together. To avoid detection, they disguise their home as a plant nursery. But now their cover is blown, and Hwayi has become a liability. Everyone thinks keeping him will bring trouble. Fan Xiu pulled out a hunting rifle.
내가 결정해.
After Hwayi finished speaking, everyone was too scared to voice their opinions. The honest and simple Ji Tai quickly opened the flower pot. Having been in the confined space for too long, Hwayi had already fallen into a coma. The men, not knowing what to do, hurriedly called over the woman Unju, who was hiding on the side, to take care of Hwayi. Disheveled and shackled, Unju timidly emerged from the darkness. In name, Unju is Suktae's wife, but her life is no different from that of a captive. The group of 5 men, known as White Charm, are assassins involved in making illegal weapons, robbing banks, and committing kidnappings and murders. Over the years, they have committed numerous crimes without leaving a trace. Under the cover of informant Changho, the 5 men live a stable and prosperous life. 15 years have passed in the blink of an eye. In a lavishly decorated villa, a prosecutor is enjoying a full-body massage from a blind masseur named Xiao Wu.
그럼 평생 아주 가까이 있는 건 보여요.
Suddenly, the sharp-eared Xiao Wu heard a slight noise at the door lock. The man glanced at the surveillance footage, but didn't notice anything unusual. Almost simultaneously, 3 heavily disguised individuals burst in. They forced the man to open the safe, which contained his recently acquired illicit money. The man raised his left thumb and obediently walked to the safe, taking advantage of the moment when everyone let their guard down.
이제 봤지.
Fan Xiu shot the man dead with 1 bullet. Hwayi walked up to the trembling Xiao Wu. Hwayi decided to spare his life and threatened Xiao Wu to be cautious when speaking to the police. After that, the 3 of them left with their abundant loot. Just as they left, a police car roared up behind them but lost them at a fork in the road. While they hesitated, unsure of which direction to take, a boy on the left path caught their attention. The police concluded that the robbers must have taken this route and immediately gave chase. This boy is the grown-up Hwayi. He successfully covered for his fathers. Fearing exposure, Hwayi never attended school.
아빠한테 전화하지 그랬어 왜?
Living with 5 dads and mom Unju at the gardening base. Gun dad Fan Xiu taught him to use a gun, knife dad Dong Fan taught him to play with knives. Car dad Jite taught him to drive, and Jin Cheng helped him plan for the future. Unju gave him abundant motherly love. If there was one person who was different, it was Suktae. Suktae always had a stern face and rarely praised Hwayi. When Hwayi came home, he saw the girl Wu Young. He was at a loss with a broken bike, so he took the initiative to fix it for her. Yu Young looked at Hwayi's school uniform and asked about his school. Hwayi didn't know how to respond because Unju had handmade all his uniforms. Before parting, Hwayi mustered the courage to tell Yu Young his name. The fathers are counting the money they got from the prosecutor at home. When they heard that one person was left alive, Jin Song was very angry.
일 계획대로 안 하고 감정적으로 해.
이게 계획 아니야?
As Hwayi approached the doorstep, a familiar voice echoed once more. It was a monster that only he could see. For so many years, it always followed him like a shadow. Hwayi, terrified, opened the door and ran back home. He greeted his 5 fathers respectfully and then sneaked into the kitchen to give an orange to Unju. Seeing that Hwayi always thought of her, the delighted Unju chatted with him nonstop. Before dinner, the fathers took Hwayi to a small grove to practice shooting. They hung a wild boar's head on a tree. Hwayi skillfully loaded and fired, hitting the target with every shot. Everyone except Suktae praised Hwayi. As usual, Suktae remained silent. However, this time he made an exception and patted Hwayi on the shoulder. In the room, Jin Sung was on the phone with Chong-ho. Chong-ho was furious about Suktae's unauthorized decision to release Xiao-Wu during the operation. This undoubtedly created more trouble for them. Chong-ho suggested that Jin Sung should take the lead in future operations, sidelining Suktae. Just then, Hwayi entered the room. Jin Sung quickly ended the call and handed a passport to Hwayi.
하지만 가면
Jinqing has always been reluctant for Hwayi to live a life of licking blood off the knife's edge. He hopes Hwayi can gain knowledge and culture and live a normal life. So, he quietly completed the study abroad procedures for him. At this moment, Shuatai came in, saw the passport, and angrily jumped in to stop it. For so many years, he has been diligently nurturing Hwayi, not to send him away for studies now. But Jinqing insisted that Hwayi's life should not go astray anymore. Neither of them would give in, and they parted on bad terms. Painting has always been an unknown hobby of Hwayi. He enjoys holding his sketchbook and casually drawing the scenery outside the window. Unexpectedly, he saw Yu Jing again, happily playing with friends across the street. This was a life Hwayi had never experienced. He was so engrossed in watching that he almost got hit by a car. The driver's curses caught Yu Jing's attention. Seeing it was Hua Su, the two sat by the roadside and started chatting. When Yu Jing saw Hwayi's picture book, she was stunned. She didn't expect Hwayi's drawing skills to be so good. Yu Jing remembered the self-portrait assignment given by the teacher and hoped Hwayi could help her complete it on Saturday. In return, as a photography enthusiast, she took a photo of Hwayi. Yu Jing asked Hwayi for his phone number and sent him the photo. At this moment, Che's father came out of the hotel across the street with women on both sides. Seeing that his father had drunk a lot, Hwayi had no choice but to take the wheel. Throughout the journey, his father shared his years of womanizing tips, but Hwayi didn't want to listen and just wanted to get the drunkard home quickly. Unfortunately, they encountered traffic police on the way. Hwayi was wearing a school uniform, and getting caught would be a big problem. Hwayi decided to take a risk and accelerated to break through the police checkpoint. The police immediately jumped into their cars and gave chase. With a swift maneuver, Hwayi caused a police car to crash into a roadside mound. The frustrated officers resumed their pursuit with renewed determination. Dad sees an intersection ahead and tells Hwayi to drive through it. The father and son finally managed to completely shake off the police. As the only witness to the prosecutor's murder, Xiao Wu was taken back to the police station for questioning. Fearing retaliation, Xiao Wu insisted that he was blind and saw nothing. Less trouble is better than more trouble. Since he refused to confess, the veteran officers were ready to close the case. But rookie officer Choi Young-myung wasn't convinced and volunteered to meet him.
뭐야?
He waved the lighter in front of Xiao Wu, who leaned back slightly. Choi Jingming had his answer and told Xiao Wu he could leave now. Xiao Wu was more than happy to comply, but the next second.
내가 언론에 당신 보인다고 발표할 거야. 범인을
Choi Young-myung's move really worked. Facing inevitable death, Xiao Wu confessed everything he knew. Chong Hao quickly relayed this information to Shuatai. Realizing they couldn't let Xiao Wu live, Shuatai and his men set up an ambush outside the police station, ready to eliminate him as soon as he appeared. The task of shooting was assigned to Hwayi. Xiao Wu missed the best time to shoot and was taken away in a car. However, Shuatai had a backup plan. Chong Hao secretly detained Xiao Wu and sent him to the gardening base. An enraged Shuatai also brought Hwayi back. Xiao Wu has already met his end, and Hwayi tearfully told Shuatai about the monster. This has become his nightmare. Hwayi knew he was about to be locked in that dark, windowless room again. Since childhood, whenever he mentioned the monster to Shuatai would lock him up. However, the so-called fighting poison with poison didn't work. Instead, the fear of the monster grew deeper in his heart. Saturday arrived, and Hwayi went early to the place he had agreed to meet Yu Jing. However, he hid behind a tree, too afraid to show himself. Watching Yu Jing walk away disappointed, Hwayi felt a pang of sadness, but knew they were from different worlds. Chairman Young of the Sacred Land Corporation is busy with a new real estate project. However, they encountered trouble during the initial demolition phase. A stubborn resident refuses to move out, causing delays. Frustrated by the couple's non-cooperation, Chairman Young decides to have them eliminated and orders Baekmi to take care of it.
성금 30%야.
These two are Hwayi's biological parents, Hyung Ji and Sunja. Jin Cheng worries about hurting Hwayi and hesitates. Shuatai insists on doing it and wants Hwayi to do it himself. Unaware of their true identities, Hwayi is taken to the couple's doorstep by car dad on a rainy day. Others observe from a distance with binoculars. Hwayi skillfully opened the courtyard gate. As he struggled to open the main door, a patrol car drove by. The patrolling officer was familiar with the area and hadn't heard of this couple having a child. Curious, he approached to ask about the situation. Hwayi walked in. The room was very quiet, and it seemed like the couple wasn't home. On the living room floor, Hwayi found a photo of a little boy who bore a striking resemblance to him. Almost as if guided by fate, Hwayi picked up the photo. He started searching each room but found no one. Shanzi was actually at home. She heard the sound of the lock turning and was so scared that she immediately hid in the closet. Trembling, Shanzi texted her husband Hengza for help. Hwayi heard Shanzi's phone ringing and slowly walked towards the closet. At this moment, Shuatai and Gundad also arrived. Hwayi did not reveal Sun Zi's location. The three of them ran into Hengza, who had hurried back in the living room. Shuatai restrained Hengza and forced him to reveal Sun Zi's whereabouts. To protect his wife, Hengza claimed that Sun Zi had returned to her hometown. Suddenly, a noise outside the window caught their attention. Sun Zi had already sneaked out of the cabinet. She fled from home and started running for her life. Seeing Hwayi standing in the living room, Suktae realized it was him who intentionally let Sunja go. Fortunately, Sunja was eventually rescued by a kind passerby. Suktae dragged the trembling Hwayi in front of Hyungjae, handed him a gun, and told him to kill Hyungjae to atone for himself. Hwayi's trembling hands caused him to miss the shot, but Shuatai refused to stop firing. Everyone was shocked by Hwayi's crazy actions. Before the police arrived, Suktae led them away from the scene. Upon seeing the patrolling officer, Hwayi becomes the sole witness. When the officer mentions that the killer was a student in a school uniform, Chong-ho immediately dismisses it, insisting that no student would carry a gun to commit murder, trying to confuse the situation. Unexpectedly, the surviving Sunja confirms the officer's statement but soon faints from shock and is taken to the hospital. Hwayi took the found photo back. Eunju immediately recognized it as Hwayi's childhood photo. Despite Hwayi's repeated denials, Eunju insisted she couldn't be wrong. Hwayi lay on the bed, unsure how to process everything. In the evening, Choi Young-myung arrived at the crime scene in the dark, hoping to find new clues. The room had already been cleaned by Suktae and his team before they left. As Choi Young-myung was about to leave empty-handed, he noticed an umbrella at the door. It was a souvenir from a picking event, likely left behind by the perpetrators. Choi Young-myung found the event organizer. The woman was being uncooperative and hesitant. Losing his patience, Choi Young-myung grabbed the name list and decided to find each person himself. Due to the failed operation, Chairman Young was furious. He called and scolded Suktae and his team harshly. He even specifically mentioned that he wouldn't let Hwayi, who disrupted the operation, off the hook. After hanging up, Suktae, worried about Hwayi's safety, decided to lead everyone to leave first.
밥은 3개 철사 풀고 리본 묶거나 내일
Hwayi took action first. Early in the morning, he rushed to Shanzi's house. Distressed, he wanted to know the truth. Shortly after arriving, he heard noises outside the door. Hwayi quickly climbed to an upstairs room to hide. It was Shanzi, still in her hospital gown. Hwayi locked the door tightly and then realized the room was a children's room. Besides the pile of toys, there are also many missing person notices stacked on one side. Seeing the familiar photo, memories of the past began to flood back to Hwayi. He finally confirmed his identity. Hwayi rushed downstairs to find his mother, only to discover that Shanzi was attempting to hang herself. Hwayi quickly saved her and took her to the hospital. Chong-ho found Shuatai, realizing the gravity of the situation. Shanzi saw Hwayi's face clearly. If they continue like this, no one will escape unscathed. He suggested to Shuatai to eliminate Hwayi quickly to prevent future troubles.
그년을 어떡할지 물어야지, 안 그래?
Meanwhile, Choi Young-myung disguised as a buyer and tracked down Suktae's horticultural base. Jin Cheng, who stayed at the base, warmly welcomed him. Through various details, Jin Cheng quickly guessed his true identity. It seems the police are already onto them. Jin Cheng called Shuatai to discuss, sending Hwayi away again. Hwayi didn't insist further and said he would think about it. Unexpectedly, as soon as he hung up the phone, Hwayi returned home. He pointed a gun at Jin Cheng, forcing him to reveal his true identity. Jin Cheng tried to use the bond of upbringing to manipulate him.
아이가 돌아올까 봐.
With a gunshot, Hwayi bid farewell to Jin Cheng. Chairman Young, determined to kill Sunja, sent another assassin to the hospital. Chang Ho intercepted the killer, knowing he couldn't escape responsibility if something happened to Sunja under his watch. The assassin grabbed Chang Ho's gun and shoved it into his mouth. After firing several empty shots, Chang Ho's mental defenses completely collapsed. Don't get it wrong, the one who can set things up. The assassin disguised as a patient and sneaked into Shanzi's ward. Just as he was injecting poison into Shanzi's fore, Hwayi pounced from behind. The assassin pulled out a dagger and started fighting with Hwayi. Despite being stabbed, Hwayi, determined to protect Sunja, fought back fiercely. He eventually seized the assassin's knife and stabbed him in the carotid artery, then pushed him out the window. Amid the chaos, he managed to get Sunja out of the hospital. Worried that he had been exposed, Hwayi asked Yu Jing to help send Shanzi to a sanatorium. Looking at his comatose mother and thinking of his tragically deceased father, Hwayi decided to seek revenge on the men. He sneaks back into the gardening base, finding only Gun Dad at home. They point guns at each other. Despite giving his all, Hwayi is no match for Gun Dad and quickly finds himself at a disadvantage. Hwayi doesn't confront him head-on. He assures Gun Dad that he will take care of all the troubles.
내가 죽일게요. 전승기 회장.
At this moment, the sound of cars can be heard outside. The men have returned. Taking advantage of Gun Dad's momentary distraction, Hwayi swiftly flips up, grabs a box of guns, breaks the window glass, and escapes back to the car. The men hurriedly rush downstairs and drive after him. Gun Dad keeps firing at Hwayi's car wheels, but Car Dad, unable to bear it, stops him. Hwayi sat in the passenger seat the entire time, not saying a word. Two cars raced down the road at night, one after the other. With exceptional driving skills, Hwayi didn't give Car Dad a chance to catch up. He led Car Dad to a tricky section of the road, which Car Dad navigated skillfully. Suddenly, Hwayi turned on the high beams, catching Car Dad off guard.
이거 우리 다 죽이려고 한 거지.
Hwayi found an abandoned factory and called Tai. He arranged for the fathers to meet at the factory tomorrow. After hanging up, Hwayi saw the menacing monster again. But this time, he could finally look at it calmly. The next day, Chairman Jung suddenly received a letter. At the end of the letter was a factory address and a phone number. He called in the hitman. The assassin quickly understood Chairman Jung's intention and rushed over with his men. On the other side, the men also arrived at the factory on time. As soon as they entered the factory, they were immediately surrounded by Chairman Jung's assassins.
돈을 5배 가져왔으니 김선재 씨를.
The men were utterly confused. The assassin believed they were pretending and called the number on the letter. A phone rang in the corner of the factory, confirming to the assassins that the sender was indeed an accomplice of Tai. Since no one knew who fired the shot, everyone thought they had fallen into an ambush, causing chaos. While the two groups fought, a mysterious person outside kept shooting, turning the factory into a sea of blood. During the battle, both sides kept firing outside the factory. Ba heard the continuous gunfire from inside the factory. He also noticed the bullets being fired from the tower opposite. He decided to deal with the person upstairs first. When Ba finally climbed the tower, he was surprised to find that it was Hwayi who was shooting. Hwayi had orchestrated the situation to make the two groups kill each other, and then planned to eliminate them all. Hwayi had already been shot in the waist, but he continued his determined hunt. The men finally killed all of Chairman Jung's assassins. However, in the end, only Suktae was left alive. At that moment, the assassin's phone rang. Hwayi throws away his phone and walks out of the factory. Hwayi hesitated, unsure whether to shoot. Che's father urgently stopped him and reached for the gun in Hwayi's hand. Unwilling to let go, Hwayi pushed Che's father against the tower's railing. In his agitation, Hwayi kept pushing Che's father, accidentally breaking the railing. In the final moment, Che's father managed to grab the rope attached to Hwayi's gun. Hwayi didn't rush to settle the score with Hwayi. He shot and destroyed all the cars parked in the yard, then drove his truck to find Changhao. Yu Jing called Hwayi for help. Changhao, with a large group of people, had already found Shanzi's sanatorium. Hwayi, upon hearing this, went crazy and hijacked a car, racing towards the sanatorium. Unfortunately, Yu Young, who was hiding in the bathroom, was eventually found by Changho and forced into a car. Fortunately, Shuatai arrived just in time. He stared intently into Changhao's eyes. Changhao gripped the pistol tightly, not daring to make a move. Shuatai went to Shanzi's hospital room. Shanzi, who had been in a coma, suddenly woke up as if sensing some energy. Hwayi wiped the blood off his face and sat by Shanzi's bed. He began to talk about Hwayi's growth journey. Hearing that her son was not only alive but also very healthy and smart, Shanzi was shocked and trembled.
자꾸 뭐가 보인대. 날 만나봐.
It turns out that the five fathers and Unju grew up together in an orphanage. The monster Hwayi mentioned was a nightmare that haunted Suktae. Hyungjae, the son of the orphanage director, comforted Suktae when he learned of his fear. He advised Suktae to pray whenever he saw the monster. Although Suktae followed this advice earnestly, the monster still appeared from time to time. Gradually, Suktae developed feelings for Unju. But Unju liked Hyungjae. Enraged, Suktae assaulted Unju in a warehouse. Hyungjae broke in, but Suktae severed his left leg with a hoe. Kind-hearted Hyungjae didn't hold Suktae accountable.
이 더러워진 거라고.
He thinks that Shua Tai has become like this because of the monster in his heart. Instead, she sincerely helped him pray. Strangely, the monster in Shua Tai's heart disappeared after that. Hearing this, Shanzi began to cry in despair. Shuai walked to the window, while Hwayi had already stumbled downstairs. When Hwayi arrived at Sunja's hospital room, Suktae had already shot and killed her. Witnessing this horrific scene, Hwayi collapsed at the door in utter despair. Meanwhile, Choi Young-myung discovered the connection between the horticultural base and Hwayi. He came over and grabbed Unju to force the truth out of her. After learning everything, Choi Young-myung prepared to arrest the group. Fearing Hwayi would be implicated, Unju picked up a stone and knocked Choi Young-myung unconscious. She then moved him to the basement. When Hwayi arrived home, Suktae was already waiting for him. Hwayi aimed the gun at Suktae, asking him in anguish why he treated him this way.
아빠들이 다 괴물들인데 너도 괴물이.
Hwayi found it ironic. How could he possibly live with the person who killed his parents? Suktae sneered and reminded him that he hadn't seen the monster in a long time. Suddenly, Choi Young-myung crawled out from the basement. He pointed a gun at the two and urged Hwayi to put down his gun quickly. As the three were in a standoff, Unju got up. When Hwayi picked up the handgun, Suktae aimed his gun at Unju. Forcing Hwayi to shoot himself, Suktae firmly believed that Hwayi could defeat the monster by being more ruthless. Seeing Hwayi hesitate to pull the trigger, Suktae shot Unju in the leg. In the end, Hwayi couldn't bring himself to shoot. He knelt before Suktae, begging him to spare Unju. Shua Tai pulled Hwayi up and held him in his arms. Shuai looked in disbelief at the barrel of Hwayi's gun. The person he loved the most finally turned against him. He used his last bit of strength to raise the gun, but eventually put it down. In the classroom, classmates brought a beautifully wrapped gift for Yujing. Inside is a self-portrait. Where is that boy? Yujing rushed to the window. A demolition ceremony is taking place on the playground. Chairman Young stands in the center of the stage, finally seeing his grand vision come to life. Amidst the joyous atmosphere, a bullet hits Chairman Young right in the forehead. Hwayi packs up the sniper rifle and walks into the crowded street. Hwayi, a monster boy, is more of an art film about faith and redemption than an action movie. Unlike typical heartwarming films, the protagonist Hwayi, who is once pure, first falls into corruption and then redeems himself. The film is inspired by life, but transcends it. Its flaws cannot overshadow its brilliance. The crime scenes are bold and bloody, making one's blood race. The monster is a recurring theme throughout the film. Perhaps everyone has a monster in their heart, also known as evil thoughts. The difference is that Hwayi chooses to face and confront it, while his adoptive father Suktae chooses to become it. In reality, things are simple, right and wrong, black and white. But when emotions get involved, the ending is never that straightforward.